everybody. This is Ellen Valentine with Leatherwork School. Glad you could join me today. I want to introduce some new products to you. These are specialty products. They're actually all jigs. J-I-G-S. Jigs is a kind of a funny word, but I think it's been mostly used in the woodworking trades for a little aid or tool that will help you do your job better. It's usually something to help you place things or adjust things or get the right spacing. And I've found jigs to be a very important part of my leatherwork assembly process. And I am bringing to market 4 jigs for you. I'm not going to stock these regularly on my website. Rather, I'll have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 open purchase seasons for you where you can purchase these. I'll have them made just for you, and then we'll ship them out. So today we're announcing 4 jigs, and I want to tell you about each one of them. The first one is the flap jig. This is the flap jig. It's quite large. It's got a nice curve at the top. This is to help you get that rounding on the top of your jig. And it's actually covered with a plastic pricking material. So you can actually prick on the top shoulder of your bags right onto this angled flap jig. So this is a great thing for setting the curves and doing your pricking around the top edge of a bag. And I'll show you this in a little bit more detail here in a bit. The second jig is actually the top handle jig. This is a pretty important one. This one is used to make things like the top handle bag that's on the cover of my book. So in order to make this handle that's on the top of Leatherwork School, this comes in very, very handy. You can see it also has got a pricking mat material on each side, and there's a gutter in the middle for placing the under handle. So there's a nice spacer in here for your under handle, and then you can easily prick on either side of the handle. So the round handle, again, I'll show you this one in a little bit more detail. The next one is a 45-degree folding jig. This is great for making a passport envelope, a small portfolio. Maybe some of you have field notes, leather covers. This is great for this. It's also great for a wallet. So super stable with this cross piece in here, and it helps you get this nice curve on your bag. And I also use it for some tight corner gussets as well, and I'll show you that too. The last one is a folding jig. This is excellent for making a wallet. It's got 2 radius curves, a tight, very, very tight one on the bottom, and then one that's a little broader on the top. Again, I'll show you this one in a bit more detail. This is the folding jig. So now let's go over to the other camera. We're going to go on an overhead camera. I'm going to show you how you can use each of these jigs. So here we are over at the other camera. Let me start by sharing with you the flap jig. So I'm actually making a very tall, bag here. It's in process. But what I need to do next is I need to actually set this curve. So I'm going to lay this over my bag as I'm gluing it down to get a nice curve. And there's a little bit of a bump because I've got my D-rings here at the top for the strap mounts. But essentially I'm setting my curve. So after I have glue applied to both my lining and my outer leather, I'm going to establish that curve. Same thing on the bottom part of the bag to establish that curve. I'm going to use this flap jig to establish that bottom curve. So that's where this flap jig will come in very, very handy for you. The next jig, as I mentioned, is the top handle jig. So here you can see I've actually got a top handle that's been all formed and molded. We've got, as you will note in the book, you've got multiple pieces of fill in the top. There's our under handle. So in order to prick this, you're going to lay it over the top handle jig, and then you're just wrestling it, or you're not wrestling it, you're resting it right into that gap. And then you're using your pricking irons to actually prick all along the top here, all along the top outer edges of your handle. You don't actually want to hold it down here to prick. You really want to rotate your handle around and use the curve here to rotate around. So you are predominantly pricking on the top third of the handle jig. So there's the top handle jig, super important. Otherwise you're going to be stretching this handle out, and you don't necessarily want to do that. You want to maintain this nice curve and maintain a semblance of a curve when you're pricking. So that's the top handle jig. Now here we've got the 90-degree jig, and first I'm going to show you how we can actually establish a curve and a gusset. I like to have a curve on all of my gussets, and for this I've got cut out both my lining material and my outer material. I've got each edge skived, and I've got some glue here on each edge. So I want actually my gusset to have a nice curve to it. So how am I going to do that? Well, first I'm going to lay down on my flap jig. I'm going to lay the top of my gusset down. I'm going to actually install my lining on a curve. So I'm going to actually press this down on each end. You're getting a really nice subtle curve. If I wanted to get even more of a curve, I can use the 90-degree jig to press even more of a curve into my project here. And then suddenly you've got a very nicely curved gusset, and it's going to look super on your bag when it's finished. So again, this is how I'm using both of these jigs to set up my gusset with a nice curve on it. The other thing you can use your 45 or your 90-degree jig for is to actually establish your wallet. So here you can see I've got all of my card slots are completed on my interior wallet assembly, and now I need to install my outer wallet pocket. So here I can lay this right over my 45-degree jig, get everything placed super nice, and install my glue and get everything set up just perfectly. The folding jig is great if you've overcut and you've made your outer pocket longer than your inner assembly. You can use this folding jig to actually simulate the wallet being completely finished and folded in someone's back pocket. So you can simulate that, and then you can calculate exactly how much you need to trim off for your outer pocket. So this is also super handy. You can use both sides. For this particular operation, I'm going to use the skinny side, the skinny radius, to actually establish that tight curve. So there you have it. These are 4 jigs. I will tell you that I am going to primarily sell these in the United States. So back to the main camera. I'm primarily going to sell these in the United States because these are quite heavy. The flap jig weighs more than 10 pounds. So it's going to be quite costly to ship this overseas. So on the website, I did note that I'm primarily selling these in the United States. We'll take orders for a few weeks here, and then in about 6 weeks, we'll have them ready and ship out to you. If you are overseas and you want to splurge and you would like for me to ship these to you, just send me a message. It's support@leatherworkschool.com, and I can get you a quote for not only the jigs, but the shipping as well. So I hope that you can join me in your leathercraft journey. If you're making handbags or small leather goods, these jigs are indispensable. You can read more about them and their dimensions and how they're used on my shop website, which is leatherworkschoolshop.com. That's leatherworkschoolshop.com. As always, you can follow me at Leatherwork School on Instagram, and make sure you click on the bottom to subscribe because I have lots of videos coming and I want to make sure that you get those as soon as they're released. Thanks very much and have a great day.